welcome to the August 2022 update on deep analysis and the best chess software for that purpose. Time has marched on. Amazingly, 18 months have passed since the last video was released, amazingly, and several pieces of software from the last list have been updated and improved. So the roadmap of where we're going today is I propose we go back over the list we looked at last time, but at a much faster rate. We'll consider the upgrades that have been made, and you really should know about those upgrades because some of them are really quite significant. And then I'd like to bring to your attention two new pieces of chess software that weren't on the list last time. This was basically an oversight on my part, and I've corrected it for this video. Then I'd like to bring to your attention a new piece of software that really wasn't very well known at all when the last video was made, but has improved in leaps and bounds. It's sort of a new interface that we definitely want to consider. And then finally, stay tuned to the end because I've got something really quite special to show you. It's not another chess interface, but it's a tool that you can use inside your chess software, which will give you some extra horsepower, shall we say. But I'll save that surprise to the end. Do stay tuned. Let's get underway with the August 2022 review. Okay, let's take a look first of all at the king of the last list, which was Aquarium 2021. Well, Aquarium has been updated. This is now version 2022. However, I need to point out immediately before you bombard me with messages saying that nothing has changed, let me say it first. Nothing has changed. This software, however, has it all. It has exceptionally good deep position analysis to be able to develop entire trees of positions, all fully back-solved, with sub-functions to do further deep position analysis on some very tricky positions, targeted analysis similar to that Fritz has, which I'll review in a moment. It's got the ability to import databases, analyzing them all to a certain depth of your choice. You can network together computers on your LAN in order to bolster the overall compute power, and it can accommodate hundreds of CPU cores in order to analyze day and night to a terrific depth that you simply cannot get elsewhere. It is no surprise at all that Aquarium is the king of analysis, certainly of the opening systems. However, although it is fantastic, it has not been updated since 2016, and every new version simply has a new splash screen. So I'm afraid this is a dinosaur in many ways, but it happens to be a very powerful dinosaur. Okay, next up is the interface Fritz, which comes from this comment actually. This is by Mark Young, posted a year ago at the top of the screen there. He says, "You missed the best GUI." This is a comment, by the way, from the last video I did about 18 months ago. He says, "You missed the best GUI. Fritz 17 is the best deep position analysis function. It's not the same deep analysis that is found in Chessbase 16. Now, this is actually a really fair point. I had completely missed this. My assumption was that because when I did the deep position analysis video in January 2021, because at that point in time, Chessbase was newer than Fritz, although I was aware that Fritz had its own version of deep position analysis, I assumed that the new type that was found on Chessbase that I wasn't very positive about, I assumed that that would be carried over to Fritz. Now, what's actually happened is that Fritz 18 has been released, and it also retains the name of a particular function called deep position analysis, but it is totally different to the one that Chessbase 16 has. So they've both got the same named function, deep position analysis, but they operate totally differently. Fritz has stuck with the old school method, and Chessbase has moved on to a newer method. And as Mark Young points out, and I agree with him, the Fritz one is far superior. I wouldn't agree that it's got the best one of them all, though, because all you get at the end of it is a PGN. You don't get a back-solved tree or anything like that. So I wouldn't go that far, but I would definitely agree that Fritz is better than Chessbase. To prove the point, I'm going to do an experiment. So first of all, let's go to Chessbase. And from the start position, we go through these moves from the Alekhine's defense. And knight d7 is somewhat dubious, and white can get an overwhelming attack now with knight f7, exclamation mark. A move, by the way, which Tal, who was playing white, failed to find in this position. He actually just played bishop c4. But knight f, it's incredible that he, of all people, would have missed this, but knight f7 is the strongest move. And what we're going to do is we're going to see what each deep position analysis spits out after giving it, let's say, 20 minutes each on this position. So first of all, I'm going to use Chessbase's deep position analysis. Then by comparison, I'm going to use Fritz's deep position analysis. So what you do is, I'm in Chessbase, go to analysis. And first of all, you've got to load up your kibitzers. So for this, it works best. Well, we click on cloud analysis and it tells me straight away you need at least 2 engines. Runs best with cloud engines. That's the big thing of this function. So open up cloud engines. And as the saying goes, here's some I've prepared earlier. I've already loaded up some here. So I can click on these and then click use engine. And then I'm just going to keep on using these engines. One as well, use engine, so I've got 3 there. Alrighty, so they're doing that. Then I go to cloud analysis. As I pointed out last time in my previous video, one of the great weaknesses of Chessbase's cloud analysis is it's not entirely obvious to me which engine you want adopting which role. So I've got 3 engines here. I could have loaded one more if I wanted to. It's assigned Dragon 3 to the analysis crawler, Stockfish 15 to the root candidate, and Fritz 18, which don't forget is quite a bit weaker, to expected answers. It's not obvious to me which engine you'd want adopting the strongest one, but let's stick with the order it's assigned them in. And as I said, let's give it 20 minutes. So it's coming up to 5 o'clock on my time in the bottom right. So let's say it just before 5:20. We'll terminate the analysis and see how it does. Ready, steady, cook. And off it goes. Now, if you look at the top of the screen, just while that's going, you see that it says deep analysis iteration 1, time 6 seconds. Now, if we give that a bit of time, let's try and make everything a bit bigger so we can see what's going on. It's now on iteration 2, 9 seconds. These are powerful machines, by the way, I've got loaded up. So I've got 16 cores on the Dragon 3 one, 22 cores on the Stockfish 15 one, and 64 cores on the Fritz 18 engine. So they're powerful machines. Let's see how it does. See you in 19 minutes time. Okay, we've had around 20 minutes. Let me just remind you of where we've got to. We had this opening, which a few years ago used to be quite challenging for engines, with the sacrifice knight f7 in the air. What we've done is we've assigned Chessbase's deep position analysis using a grand total of 102 physical cores to the problem, and that has been split over 3 engines all working together in Chessbase's deep position analysis. As you can see at the top of the screen, it's now on iteration 10, and each iteration, by the way, seems to take longer and longer and longer. So it will be a very long time before we get to iteration 11. And in the notation window in the middle right, you can see what we've got to show for our 20-minute investment in using all of these engines, which, by the way, if I wasn't renting them privately, would cost me quite a lot of money. Now, it's given me a grand total of about half a dozen plies, and maybe it's just me, but I feel a little bit shortchanged by this. Yes, it is true. It has successfully identified both white and black's best moves. However, the position is no longer that testing, so I'm going to stop the process right here. Okay, and then I'm going to remove all of my kibitzers. And you can see what I've been left with, which is knight f7, that's correct. Correct, correct. King e6, and yep, c4 is the best move. But clearly there were other alternatives, and clearly we want to know what's going to happen now. And you would then have to start the process again around move 8 to see where we go next with it. So I'm not terribly enthusiastic about this. I wish Chessbase would clarify which engine should adopt which roles, like which ones should be the analysis crawler and so on and so on, but there we go. That is deep position analysis by Chessbase 16. Now, by comparison, what we're going to do is switch to Fritz. Here's Fritz. We're going to put exactly the same position in here to compare. Here we go. And this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to be using Stockfish 15 on only 4 physical cores because this is going to be run locally on my laptop. I then go to Analysis, Deep Position Analysis. I'm going to set the total time to 20 minutes, so it's like for like. And I'm going to leave all of the settings on their default. And I will see you in 20 minutes time from my point of view. Okay, well, welcome back. I've given Fritz 18 running Stockfish 15, its 20-minute allowance. The process terminated all by itself because we set an end time there. And as you can see, you've got a much fuller result on the top right-hand side. Here is a useful move, so it's put down with lots of sub-variations. Certainly, if you're going to use this to seed an idea project, the Fritz deep position analysis is far more useful than the Chessbase deep position analysis. However, because we're only using one engine and it is, you can only use one engine on the Fritz deep position analysis. Certainly on my machine, when I tried to add multiple engines, it just seemed to crash. The quality of the analysis, I'm not sure. So it found knight f7 easy peasy. But then here it wanted queen e2, and there's a repetition of moves. And I think the idea here is that white would then play c4, and you haven't lost anything, but why not just play it immediately? 8 queen e2 just seems to be a bit of a mistake, to be honest, or a waste of time anyway. You want to play c4 on this move. So there we go. Certainly, if we're going to combine deep position analysis with Aquarium, the Fritz one is to be preferred. But wouldn't it be nice if they could just sort out the Chessbase version where we can use multiple engines on multiple computers anywhere in the world and have a super duper deep position analysis? But for some reason, the company Chessbase have not yet done that. But here's hoping that they will, because that could be a winner. So there we go. That's Fritz versus Chessbase, comparing the two deep position analysis. Next up on the list is HIARCS Chess Explorer 2. This is what it now looks like. This is a major new release, long delayed, several years past the due date, but nevertheless it did arrive and it's stuffed full of new features. If you go onto the HIARCS website and scroll down, you can see a list of all of the advancements they've made since version 1. Some of the biggest ones, which they've put at the top, are to do with database support. So if memory serves, this was reading databases far quicker than Chessbase was. So you've got that kind of ironic situation upon release where HIARCS Chess Explorer 2 was able to read Megabase faster than Chessbase was, which was kind of funny. It might be my perception of things has changed a bit, but it seems to me that Chessbase have sped up Chessbase now, so the difference is much smaller, and some of that has been minimized a little bit, that sort of difference here. But remember, the purpose of this video is to look at things from a deep position analysis point of view, and from that point of view there's not actually much here. I mean, we get down to here, so we've got automatic game analysis. It's now got multi-engine support with multi-PV, but to be honest, that's been supported for quite a while on other interfaces, so there's not that much here. I've entered in a game here. It's a very famous game, Morphy versus the Duke of Brunswick, and I did a sort of automatic analysis on the game, and it's pretty good. You know, it inserts a sort of theory move there. HIARCS 15.1 is doing the analysis. Some of its annotations you obviously want to question. I would just give knight f6 a question mark myself, and I would probably give queen b3, that famous Morphy move, an exclamation mark, but it's pretty good. It's pretty good. But there's not really anything here from a deep position analysis point of view. Now, given the extremely long life cycle of HIARCS Chess Explorer, there is hope that they will add more things in. The other thing you probably want to know about this product is the price, which has gone up. To be fair, it's now more expensive than it used to be, but you do get a very long cycle of support with HIARCS. I mean, the last version lasted whatever it was, can't remember, best part of a decade, but you know, and probably the new version will be waiting a long time before you get HIARCS Chess Explorer 3. And unlike interfaces such as Fritz, the improvements keep coming as the interface is developed. So you don't have to wait for version 3 to get advancements. This makes HIARCS actually quite a unique platform from that point of view. And it's a model I very much appreciate. I think they've done very well here. So you don't have to wait till version 3 before you get all the new goodies. They get added into version 2, or in the previous case, version 1, as we go. So there we go. That's HIARCS Chess Explorer Pro, which I think some people are going to love. And it looks like this. Okay, moving on to the next interface. Okay, we're now going to look at Nibbler. Nibbler is as good as it always used to be, and it's been further improved. Now, before you judge too quickly, bear in mind I'm running this off my laptop. If you were using a dedicated desktop or workstation, you may have a more powerful graphics card than I've got. Remember, LC0, which is going to be running in Nibbler, will be doing quite a lot of work on the GPU. That's part of the reason why LC0 is such a great companion to Stockfish in other interfaces, because it doesn't use many CPU threads. But Nibbler, usually you would want to run LC0 on this alone, and Leela needs a decent graphics card, which I have an okay one on this laptop. It is NVIDIA, but it's not a great one. Now, it looks like this, looks pretty similar to how it used to look. It's got one or two really nice new features, which I'll just show you. Might be fun, actually, if we get that position up again, just so I can stick with what is familiar, and then knight d7. And we're hoping it will find the move knight f7. And I've just downloaded the latest. This is sort of August the 5th, 2022. I've just downloaded the latest network for LC0. So let's go to analysis and then go. Off we go. You see immediately it's found knight f7 with a 64% chance, 65% chance now of winning, so it claims. And I still stick by what I said last time. It is such a beautiful way to analyze. It may not be quite as strong as Stockfish, but you know, not far off. Okay, what are the new tricks? Well, things have just improved generally, I would say, but there are some particular features which you might want to know about. I think probably the best one is the ability to focus analysis on one particular move that interests you. So clearly in this position, it identifies the best move is knight f7 and the second best move is knight f3, avoiding exchanges. I clearly remember the old program Crafty, however, like the move c4 here, which I don't think is that great because it allows the exchange of knights. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, you wanted to direct all of the firepower on the move c4. Well, if you look here where my mouse is, what you can do is see where it says focus question mark. If I click there, suddenly c4 becomes the only move that it will think about, and therefore it will direct much more compute to that alternative rather than knight f7. And it will consider that. So that's what it's doing right now. Anyway, that's Nibbler. As great as ever, but now even better, and it's still totally free. So you definitely do want to download Nibbler, especially if you've got an NVIDIA graphics card. All right, next up, let's talk about Shredder. Shredder 13 was the version that was current when I made the last video in January 21, and I'm afraid it's still the same one which is available now. So nothing has changed. However, on the internet, there has been some kind of podcast with author Stefan Meyer-Carlin, who says that Shredder 14 is coming very soon. Because the interview is only in German, I think it's German, here we go.
Also ich sage jetzt nicht, wie alt ich 1978 war. Ja, das habe ich damals geschenkt.
Yeah, I couldn't make much sense of it, and I tried using Google Translate, which produced some hilarious results, and I'm sure that it got something wrong because it was coming out with some very strange ideas of what Stefan was up to. But there we go. Shredder 14 is coming. It was due to be out Q1 2022. Clearly that time period has passed. It now looks like it's later in the year. It is not clear to me whether we're just going to get a new engine, which seems to be the emphasis of what I could understand from the interview, that they're moving towards a neural net engine rather than a hand-tuned evaluation. But whether we're just going to get the new engine or a new interface, and a new interface as well is unclear. It might just be the engine part. But anyway, that's not here yet. If and when it comes, of course, I will let you know. But that is the update on Shredder. Okay, we're now going to have a look at two pieces of software, Chess Position Trainer and Chess Openings Wizard. I think it's fair to say that neither one of these pieces of software is designed to do analysis first and foremost, although they can do analysis for sure. But really their primary aim is to get you to memorize your opening repertoire that you've done all your analysis on, and then to get it into your brain. The reason I put Chess Position Trainer on the list last time was because it has back solving, which is quite an unusual feature. Chess Openings Wizard also has back solving, I hasten to add, but lots of software doesn't. So I wanted to include it on the list, and then some people said, well, if you're going to include Chess Position Trainer, then surely you should include Chess Openings Wizard, which I had not done. So I'm trying to balance the seesaw now and have a review of Chess Openings Wizard as well. So first of all, let's remind ourselves of Chess Position Trainer. I think in terms of the look and feel of the software, this is really high up there. It is a gorgeous piece of software. So you go straight into it. You've got a lovely color scheme, very easy on the eye, very clear menu system on the left-hand side. So I'll just explain how it works. What happens is it works in terms of repertoires. So mine here on the left is called Bicknell 2022. That's my repertoire. And then it's subdivided into white and black. And then you populate white and black with openings. So for example, if I click on my black repertoire, it comes up with the King's Indian Defense, which is what I've included. And then the King's Indian is subdivided into nice variations. So I can immediately see where I am. Does that make sense? It's really clear and easy to follow. So if I click on the 4 pawns, I'm right in the middle of 4-pawn theory. If I click on the classical main line, I'm on classical mainline theory. And then you just follow the moves through it as you, want to play through them. And then later on, you'll begin to train and memorize. And it's got all sorts of features which help you to do that. Very pretty piece of software, lots of features, love it. The only thing is that Chess Position Trainer has not been updated since 2016. And actually what you're seeing on the screen now is not my laptop running at its native resolution, because I've had to lower the resolution just to get this piece of software to run, because it hasn't been updated since 2016 and it's now 2022. So if I close down Chess Position Trainer and then I right click and go to display settings, my new laptop, which I've had to buy, as all laptops tend to do now, runs at crazy high resolutions. That's the resolution that it's running at now, 1920 by 1200, but what it wants to run at is a staggering 3840 by 2400. I think Apple kind of started this crazy trend off and everybody else has followed. Now let me show you what happens when I change the resolution. Okay, I've adjusted my resolution now to its native resolution, and I can't get Chess Position Trainer to run, really. It will open up, but everything is mangled. Some of the buttons are unreadable. I've tried everything. I've tried adjusting the font sizes, you name it, and nothing seems to work. It's just garbled. Whereas Chess Openings Wizard, which looks like this, you go through the splash screen, open up an ebook, displays perfectly. And the reason why Chess Openings Wizard displays perfectly is because probably because it's been updated. Its latest update is January 2022 at the time of making this video, which is August 22. So Chess Openings Wizard has been kept up to date, and that is really crucial for any piece of software. Windows doesn't stand still, hardware and software don't stand still, everything is progressing, and so the author needs to keep up to date with things. And I'm pleased to say Chess Openings Wizard runs perfectly, unlike Chess Position Trainer. Now let me briefly overview Chess Openings Wizard. Probably the first thing you should know is the price, which is pretty high. It's $197 for the Pro version of the Windows software, which is what I'm running. This is the website, which is a little bit confusing. It sort of says book up at the top, and I wondered if I'd come to the right place, but then I read later it is indeed Chess Openings Wizard. It feels to me like it could do with a bit of a cleanup. But nevertheless, there are lots and lots of good things here. There's loads of help videos to get you started, and they are excellent. The author, Mike Leahy, I think you say his name, presents them really well. He's a sort of a natural in front of a camera, and the videos are exceptionally clear, and he does a really great job of explaining everything. So you click on this, and
when Black was brave enough to play this line, there were only 4 games.
And so on and on it goes. I really think that the videos are well done, and it makes it so much easier to get into the software. The look and feel of the software is obviously older than Chess Position Trainer, and it is an older piece of software in terms of its sort of historic roots. That doesn't bother me too much. I think the lack of some kind of organization pane, which Chess Position Trainer had on its left-hand side, I do find quite hard. I'm still quite early on in the game here, but you can imagine somewhere around here. Sorry, if I just whiz through it. The software is just slightly less intuitive. And you can imagine if we got deep into a middle game and I had all of my repertoire in one place, I wouldn't clearly understand which opening system I was working with. So Chess Position Trainer works in terms of repertoires. Chess Openings Wizard works in terms of books. And you have, we're used to using this, aren't we? We're having a book for our repertoire. But normally in any chess book, you also have a contents page. And here I can't seem to see it. I'm still quite early on with the software, so I don't want to prejudge it too quickly. And I'm also very aware that I started off with Chess Position Trainer, which probably does mean I'm a little bit biased in favor of Chess Position Trainer. But Chess Openings Wizard is working, and it is working very well. My perception is I think there's probably a bit more in this than there is in Chess Position Trainer, so that's another reason to justify the price. And I'll tell you a funny story which is true. I recently did a course run by Chessbase India. A very strong grandmaster was running the course, and he is a trainer to some of the top players in the world. He has several people in the top 100 that he coaches. And he was running the course. I took the opportunity to ask him a question, and I said to him, I'm considering doing a complete overhaul of my opening repertoire. Have you got any suggestions? And without blinking, he immediately said, that is a 2-year project. Now, when you see that kind of context between considering how much work you'll have to do in order to create a new repertoire, paying $197 suddenly becomes more reasonable. And the other thing I'll say for Chess Openings Wizard, you're only going to buy this product once. So I'm quite impressed with it. There is a lot in here. I don't know what half of these things do, but it's got some really cool stuff about getting the moves into your brain. He's done some good research on how the human brain memorizes things. So I was quite impressed with that. You can leave audio notes. There's tons of stuff here. As I say, I'm still relatively new to the software. I don't find it as intuitive as Chess Position Trainer, which I picked up very fast. But I will say this, both this software and Chess Position Trainer are far superior to any of the other stuff you'll get online. I know there are some free versions out there. I think Chessbase has an online version of how you memorize an opening repertoire. And frankly, both of these programs will blow any of the others out of the water. So there you go. Chess Openings Wizard, Chess Position Trainer. I think overall, Chess Openings Wizard has probably recaptured the crown, given that Mike is still in the game. So that's my take on that one. Well, we now come to the piece of software I mentioned at the beginning of the video that wasn't on the last video because it is so new, Banksia. This, I think, is named after a tree, and the version I'm dealing with is 0.55, released only on the 8th of August 2022, so that gives you some idea of how regularly it's being updated. What particularly impresses me about this piece of software is how fast the updates are coming, how many features are being added, and of course it is that rate of progress which is so telling. I've looked at comments online to try and be as objective as possible, and people are saying that there are some bugs, but the good news is there seem to be a lot of patches coming out to fix the bugs, so that's an extremely promising sign and exactly what we would want to see. Anyway, it looks a bit like this. You can do almost anything with this piece of software that you could with anything else. So if you go onto their website, which is where you would download it from, it gives you some idea of the feature set. It says Banksia freeware, so free, that's the first thing to notice at the moment anyway. Take advantage of that, it won't cost you a penny. And it runs on all 3 operating systems, Windows, macOS, and Linux. I think it's fair to say that's the only piece of chess software on the entire list that can do that. Shredder can as well, but I think you lose some features, certainly on macOS. I haven't tried Linux. The Windows version is the kind of like the full fat one, but I think on macOS you lose a couple of features. With this one, I think it spans the entire group of operating systems, which is brilliant, of course, especially with Apple coming out with their new hardware. You would be able to take advantage of that running this interface. And then it lists some of the things it can do. So playing, creating tournaments, editing games, databases, opening books, connecting to other computers on a local network. I mean, that's music to my ears, and on it goes. And I'd strongly encourage a look on their website. The software itself looks like this, and what particularly interests me is this dedicated tab at the top. Can you see it? To analysis. This is a really good sign. And when you click on it, you get 2 options. There's the normal infinite analysis. He's called it sort of analysis on the fly. But then this tab is the one that interests me, with a deep study of the openings now being possible. It's very, very similar to Aquarium's idea. And when you click on that, it opens up a new window. I'm not going to do a review on this because I spent a grand total of about 10 hours on the entire software. My task now is to get my head around this, because if this continues to improve at current speed, I think even with a conservative estimate, it's probably fair to say that by early 2023, we're going to be looking at the best piece of chess software in the world. And that really is a remarkable feat. So I'm not going to do a review on this. I'm just going to say what I've seen so far impresses me, and I think the future is looking very bright indeed. What I'd like to do, though, is to share with you a video that the author has sent this way, which just explains how this extreme analysis thing works. And you can watch the video, judge for yourself, and also it will give you a place to start with if you download the software and give it a go for yourself, because then you can get underway. As I've said so many times before, Aquarium is brilliant, but it is frozen in time. And what we really want is a piece of chess software like this to come and replace it. So let's see how it goes. Let me introduce this little video coming up. It's specifically about this function here, the analysis tab, and then extreme chess analysis. Enjoy. Well, last but certainly not least, not if size is anything to go by, is this wonderful thing called Chessify. This is a new product. It runs in the cloud. It's a cluster of computers that you can install as a normal UCI engine into your favorite software, or if you prefer, you can use their website to do analysis on, and I think that probably works slightly better. It runs with the latest Stockfish 15, and you can choose an astonishing array of speed of computer. So it goes up to 1 billion nodes per second. And I wouldn't want you to miss how fast this is. So let me just try and explain why this is such a big deal. Let me show you a graph of compute power. If you can imagine a graph going up from bottom to top, at the bottom you might have something like your mobile phone. Now, admittedly, mobile phones today are much quicker than they used to be. They might be as fast as, say, a laptop 3 or 4 years ago, if you've got a top-end iPhone or something like that. But nevertheless, they're right at the bottom of the pile when it comes to chess because they are so small. One up would be something like a laptop. This now uses PC-grade CPUs, but nevertheless, the laptop is relatively small. There's only a certain amount of heat it can get rid of, and therefore the CPU won't be able to run that fast, relatively speaking. One up from a laptop would be a desktop. This now is running with a higher wattage, more CPU cores can be accommodated, and often at a higher clock speed. What's faster than a desktop? Well, a workstation or a server. An example of a workstation would be something like AMD Threadripper with up to 64 cores and 128 threads. Or if you really want to go high-end, you could go for a dual socket server, which could be a dual Xeon if you want to go down the Intel route, or a dual EPYC if you want to go down the AMD route. Bear in mind that these machines are far more expensive than a normal desktop, and you'd be looking to pay anything from, say, 10 to 25,000 pounds, or in that kind of ballpark range. And of course, that would be the upper limit of what any sensible person could afford, I think, and accommodate in their home. And often, of course, most of us would prefer either a desktop or a laptop just to keep the budget within sensible means. What's faster than a workstation or a server? Well, the answer is a cluster. A cluster is a network of servers together, and you can reach astonishingly high core counts doing this. And that is exactly what Chessify have done. Their 1 billion node per second cluster runs on 512 physical CPU cores. That is amazing. And I've actually tested one that's twice as fast as that using their system, because they can custom build ones for you. So I'm really, really impressed. And the top end will be something like a supercomputer, think Deep Blue. But the thing is, obviously, it depends on the age of all of this. Deep Blue was indeed a supercomputer with dedicated custom-built hardware, but it's also 25 years old and would be slower than a modern workstation and weaker than a modern mobile phone for chess purposes. But that gives you some idea of where we are on the scale, and Chessify are hitting the high-end cluster with 512 CPU cores. So you're going to be analyzing much, much faster than you would do on your laptop or even desktop or even workstation. I've tested it myself, and even on a top-end Threadripper, the cluster is just so much quicker, and it cut through my tactical test suite like a hot knife through butter, and it really was very impressive indeed. So how do you actually use the thing? Well, you can either use the plugin, which would work just like a normal UCI engine inside your favorite piece of chess software, and there's instructions on their website about how you go about doing that. What you would do is set up an account, buy some coins, and then install the plugin, and then you would run it like a normal UCI engine. I tend to find the website runs a bit quicker and a bit better. Please can I just take this opportunity to say that if you get into any trouble at all, there is a marvelous woman there called Annie. She is absolutely amazing, and she's probably the most helpful person I've ever come across, and she just wants to make things work for you. So if you get into any difficulty at all, I found them to be extremely helpful, and they'll bend over backwards to try and make things work for you. So I think we're in good hands. Then what you do is you'd come to the website. If you're going to use the website, you choose the server you want. There's the list of options. So 1 billion nodes per second is the top one. That's the 512 physical cores. Bear in mind, the bigger the cluster you choose, the longer it takes to connect to it, because it has to sort of connect all of that together. So I'm going to go for this one, just to save a little bit of time, and then you click on the Analyze option. Okay, so I'm connected to their 300 million node per second cluster. That's an average speed, by the way. On the opening, it's going to be a little bit lower. So it's showing at the moment about 220 million nodes per second. I would estimate that to be about 3 times faster than my 64-core Threadripper and about 12 times faster than a good desktop machine. So this is seriously high end, and that is one of the slower clusters. Just bear all that in mind. And then you just analyze. So you just enter moves in on the board, and it follows you as normal. You can move around. We can go back to that position that we looked at, and you can see how it does. Not surprisingly, it finds knight f7 instantly. This is something I would commend to you. I have a feeling something like this could be the future. And the beauty of this is it works with almost any user interface, and it works really well on the web. And if they continue to develop the web side of things by having tools such as Fritz's deep position analysis, that would be an amazing combo to have those two working together. Then I think you get a lot of people interested in this one. One of the decisions you're going to have to make is whether or not you're going to use this service that they've provided. And to help you do that, I've drawn up a list of pros and cons, reasons against and reasons for using their cluster. The obvious reason against is just it costs money. It isn't cheap, although I hasten to add that you can get numerous discounts, and they are available in lots of different ways. They often give great deals and offers, so keep an eye out for those. It's rare that I would have to pay full price to get coins. The plugin is okay, but not great. It does take a while to connect. They say 2 to 3 minutes. I've often found it's a bit longer. It works with some user interfaces better than others. Chessbase and Fritz seem to do pretty well. So do most of the others. Aquarium, it definitely doesn't work on. So that might be off-putting for you depending on what user interface you're used to using. Reasons for, it could be that you've just got old hardware, like an old laptop, something like that, quite weak hardware, and you want to do some serious analysis and you don't want to fork out for a new computer. Well, this obviously runs in the cloud. I'm pretty sure they use Oracle servers, and it doesn't matter how fast or slow your hardware is, because your hardware is not doing any of the work. It's all being done for you on big servers somewhere remote, and therefore you don't have to buy a new machine. You can just allow them to take care of all of that. They pay for their hardware, they pay for their electricity, all of that kind of stuff. I think probably the biggest reason is a scenario where you could be short on time. So try to imagine something like this. You're in between rounds of a tournament. The next draw of the tournament has just come up. You're against an opponent that you weren't expecting to be playing against. You've got maybe an hour or 2 hours, and you've got to do your opening preparation quickly before the next round starts. Well, this would be a great example where you could connect to a really fast computer and you could make sure that your analysis was, top notch. Also, another example I can give is where I was in a chess lesson recently with a strong grandmaster, and he was rattling through some ideas and he was going so quickly. We only had about 15 seconds per move, and I was trying to keep up with him. He was running his computer and suggesting why his moves were good. I wasn't thoroughly convinced, but if you were running the cluster in the background, you would really know the answer to the question. That would be a clear-cut win for you, I think. And then maybe you just live in a really hot country and the cost isn't the issue. It's just you don't want to add more heat to your home. Simple as that. What you really want is to do the processing outside of your home. And therefore, that would be another scenario where you would benefit greatly, I think, from having the cluster going. So there you go. There's some reasons for and against. I like it very much. If money was no object, I would use it all the time.